I am the stepmother, and for the past 10 years, I've never once been called mom. Oh, I was born and raised in Pennsylvania, in a typical American family white picket fence. Parents together until old age. Thanksgiving dinners with everyone at the table. I never imagined I'd one day become a mother. Then I met Thomas. He was quiet, responsible, and carried a sadness you didn't need words to feel. We met at a support group for people grieving the loss of a loved one. I had just lost my father to a stroke. He had lost his wife over a year earlier. His wife, Julie, had been an elementary school teacher. People said she was kind, smart, gentle. Their daughter, Ella, was only 8 at the time. I met Ella for the first time on a fall afternoon. She wore a red sweater, her blonde hair tied to one side, clutching an old doll, standing behind her father without saying a word. I smiled and waved. She pulled further into his coat sleeve. I understood. She didn't hate me. She just wasn't ready. When Thomas and I got married, I moved into the house where Julie had lived, where everything remained exactly as she had left it. The family photo of the 3 of them still hung above the fireplace. Every door, every curtain, every little object carried traces of her. I didn't come to replace her. I knew that. I came because I made a promise. Julie and I weren't close, but we had met. Spoken a few times at Ella's school when I volunteered there. And when Julie found out she had cancer, she called me, no one knows why. But I came because, in her eyes, I saw the desperation of a mother searching for someone he knew wouldn't let her daughter be left alone in this world. The last thing she said to me was, "I can't choose who comes after me. But if it's you, please, stay for her. Don't make her call you mom. Just don't leave." Oh, I nodded. I didn't cry, but I knew I had just accepted a responsibility that would follow me for life. Those early days in the house, I was nothing but a shadow. Ella didn't speak to me, didn't eat at the same table, didn't even look at me once. I noticed, but I said nothing. I woke up early to make breakfast. She'd silently grab cereal and eat on her own. I did laundry, sneak her clothes aside, as if afraid I'd touch them. Thomas tried to help. He'd tell her how I once rescued a stray cat, how I loved baking, how I wasn't trying to replace anyone. But Ella didn't change, I think. Deep down, she believed that accepting me meant betraying her real mom. And so, I learned to live silently. I left Julie's photo untouched above the fireplace. Every week, I dusted its frame like a ritual. I kept her old tea set. Even though I didn't like that kind of china, I used Julie's handwritten recipe to cook the tomato soup Ella used to love. But the child never touched it. I once stood outside in the winter for hours, fixing the old swing Julie had hung for her. Ella walked past it without a word. Didn't stop. Didn't look. I thought about giving up. That maybe I was just fooling myself. But every night, walking past Ella's room, hearing the steady breathing of a child growing up without a mother, I'd remind myself, you promised. And she doesn't deserve to grow up alone again. I am the stepmother, not the biological mother. Not in the family photos. Not celebrated on Mother's Day. Never once called mom. But I was there. Every day. Every meal. Every time it rained. I still stuffed an extra jacket in her backpack, knowing she'd probably toss it aside. I never expected her to love me. I only hoped that one day she'd understand I never tried to take her mother's place. I was only keeping a promise to a mother who was no longer here, and to a child who never even knew that promise existed. There were birthdays I spent alone in the kitchen, baking a cake I knew wouldn't be eaten. There were school plays where I sat in the back row, clapping quietly, as Ella rushed offstage into the arms of her father, never once looking in my direction. There were nights when I left her laundry folded neatly on her bed, only to find it stuffed back in the basket the next day. And through it all, I stayed silent, not because I didn't feel hurt, but because I knew any word I said might be one more crack in an already fragile wall. So I chose to love from a distance. Sometimes, Thomas would place a hand on my back after Ella slammed a door. "You're doing more than you think," he'd whisper. "It just takes time." Oh, but 10 years? How long does it take for time to mean something? I used to stare at the school calendar on the fridge and count how many first days I had helped her get ready for, without a single photo together. How many nights I reheated her food. How many times I showed up at parent-teacher conferences where they asked, "And you are?" And I'd smile and say, "Just here on behalf of her dad." People think being a stepmother is like being an understudy in a play. You only step in when the main character is gone. You learn your lines. You stay backstage. And you never forget, the applause isn't for you. But I wasn't trying to be a replacement. I was trying to be enough. Enough to be someone Ella could rely on. Enough to be the reason she never felt completely alone. Enough to make good on a promise to a woman whose eyes had once begged me not to disappear. When Ella was 13, she had a fever so high she could barely keep her eyes open. Thomas was out of town. It was just her and me. I sat beside her bed all night, pressing a cold cloth to her forehead. She never said a word, but she didn't push my hand away. At one point, she opened her eyes and whispered, "Mom." My heart stopped, but then, in the next breath, she murmured, "Oh, I miss you," and turned her head toward the wall. She wasn't talking to me. Still, I stayed until sunrise. Not as mom. Oh, not as anything. Really, just there. I remember once finding a note in the trash. Ella must have written it for a school assignment. It read, "If I could bring one person back to life, I'd choose my mom. Because even after all these years, I don't think anyone else knows me like she did." I folded the paper and kept it. Not to remind myself of what I wasn't, but to remind myself why I was still here. The thing about promises is, they don't come with instructions. Julie never told me what to do when Ella hit puberty, or how to respond when she slammed doors, or how to protect her from her own silence. She just said, "Don't leave." Oh, so I stayed. There was a winter when Ella caught me outside, clearing snow from the driveway alone. She opened the door, stared at me for a long moment, then silently brought me a scarf. Didn't say a word, just wrapped it around my neck, and went back inside. I stood there, in the cold, with snow falling on my eyelashes, holding back tears that I had learned, over the years, to hide well, because that scarf, that one small gesture, was more than any birthday card, any forced "I love you," or any family photo could have given me. It was a crack of light. I am the stepmother. Still not mom. Oh, still outside the picture frame. Still waiting, but not hopeless, because sometimes even the smallest signs mean a door is no longer completely closed, and I'd wait another 10 years. If that door ever opened all the way. I always thought I had more time. More summers to try making that tomato soup Ella used to love. More Christmases to wrap an extra gift hoping maybe this one wouldn't be tossed aside. More mornings to slip a jacket into her backpack, knowing she might throw it out, but still doing it anyway. But then the doctor called. "There's something abnormal in your chest scan." We need to run more tests. Oh, he tried to sound gentle, calm. But I knew, when they say, we need to take a closer look. Oh, what they really mean is, you might be running out of time. Oh, I didn't tell Ella. She was in her senior year of high school, busy with applications, essays, clubs, friends. She didn't have space for the woman she still couldn't call Mom. But I knew I needed to do one thing before my strength faded. I had to honor the promise I had kept for 10 years. That night, once the house was quiet, I took the small wooden box out from under the bed. It was the box I had hidden away since the first day I moved into this house. Inside were a few things no one else knew existed. A photo of Julie holding a glass of orange juice, smiling, despite the wind in her hair. A short voice recording I salvaged from her old, broken phone, and a birthday card I wrote to Ella but never gave her. I took a deep breath, pulled out a blank sheet of paper, and began to write, "Dear Aja, if you're reading this, it means I finally found the courage to tell you the truth. I'm not your biological mother. I know you've never seen me as one. I don't blame you, but you deserve to know why I've stayed all these years. I told her about Julia, real mom. How Julie had helped me through my own grief when I lost my father. How we used to sit in the school courtyard. And how she'd talk about Ella, her joy, her light. And about that day in the hospital, when Julie grabbed my hand with eyes full of pain and said, if I don't make it, stay with her. Don't make her call you mom. Oh, just don't leave." I kept that promise. I never tried to replace Julie. I just stayed, quietly, faithfully. Even when I was invisible, I folded the letter and tucked it into the box, along with the photo and recording. Then I closed it and walked upstairs. I knocked on Ella's door. She looked at me, surprised. I didn't say much, just held out the box. "This is for you. Open it when you're ready, but don't wait too long." Oh, she didn't take it at first, just stared at it like it was something radioactive. Then slowly, she reached out. That night, I sat downstairs in the dark, not knowing what to expect. I didn't hear anything for hours. Then I saw her. Ella walked down the stairs, barefoot, the box clutched tightly in her hands. She sat across from me on the couch, eyes red. She didn't speak. I didn't ask. I just placed my hand on the table, palm open. And after a long pause, she placed hers on top of mine. "Still no, Mom." "Oh, still no. I'm sorry." "Oh." But for the first time in 10 years, she touched me with love. And that, for me, was enough. After that night, nothing really changed. And yet, everything did. Ella didn't hug me. She didn't cry in my arms or whisper, "I'm sorry," like they do in movies. She still came downstairs with that same quiet face, ate breakfast without a word, zipped her backpack, and left. But I started to notice the little things, the things I had long stopped hoping for. One morning, I opened the fridge and saw a sticky note on the milk carton. "You should try this one. Less sugar. R. Mom. I." Just 3 letters. No punctuation. No capitalization. But it was the first time she referred to me that way. Not to my face. Not out loud. But it was there written. Unforced. Voluntary. I sat down with that note in my hand, staring at it for minutes before I even touched my coffee. From that day on, we began walking toward each other. Not running. Not leaping into a new relationship. Just slow, Small steps. Ella started joining me for dinner without Thomas having to ask. She helped with the dishes, folded laundry, asked me about my treatment plan. I told her the truth chemo might be necessary. But the doctors caught it early. There's still hope. She didn't respond. But later that night, I found printed pages on my desk articles about recovery. Nutrition. Treatment options with important parts underlined in yellow. She had read. She had tried. One afternoon, I came out of a follow-up scan at the hospital to find her waiting by the car. Leaning on the hood, earphones in, jacket in hand, she handed me a water bottle. This helps flush the contrast dye. You should drink more. I nodded. Didn't say much. But inside, my chest ached in a way that had nothing to do with illness. I don't remember the first time she called me mom in person. Maybe it was when she asked, "Mom, are you coming to my performance this weekend?" Or maybe when she casually told a friend, "My mom's a really good cook." Oh, I didn't react, just smiled. And that night, I went to my room, shut the door, and cried. Not from pain, but from a kind of quiet relief that only comes when something you've waited years for arrives like it was always meant to be. One rainy afternoon, while she was studying at the kitchen table, Ella asked, "Do you ever regret it?" I looked up. Regret what? Staying. Choosing to take care of me, even though I wasn't very nice. I paused. Then I shook my head. Not for a second. She looked at me. Her eyes misty. "I'm sorry," she said. 3 simple words. No grand emotions. No drama. Just sincere. And that was more than enough. We're not perfect now. She still has days when she's quiet. I still have nights when I wonder if I could have done more. But now, there's a bridge between us. Not built in a day. Not made of words. But real. And strong. And each day, we step a little closer across it. I am the stepmother. I didn't give birth to Ella. We don't share blood. I wasn't there for her first cry. But I was there for every heartbreak. Every awkward school dance. Every slammed door and silent dinner. I was there. And I stayed. Today. She rests her head on my shoulder while we watch a movie. And in that quiet moment, I realize something. I'm no longer just keeping a promise. I'm no longer standing in the shadow of another woman. Mom, 10 years. We've been through 10 winters, from cold glances and quiet dinners, to a simple touch, a whispered, "Mom." And finally, a bond no longer held together by obligation, but by love. I don't even remember when I stopped waiting to hear that word. Mom? Because by the time she said it, I didn't need it anymore. I had already seen what mattered. In the way she made tea for me on tired days. In the way she left notes on the fridge. In the way she stayed. Eli's thin now. Taller than me. Eyes softer than before. She sometimes teases me now, calling me Mom, with a shy smile. Then quickly changes the subject like she's afraid she's said too much. But I know. She's learning how to love me in her own way. One day, I overheard her on the phone. "Yeah, I live with my mom. Well, my stepmom. But she's basically my mom." I stood outside the door, heart beating slowly. Not because of the word, but because she said it freely, without a script, without hesitation. I used to be afraid. Afraid I'd get sick before Ella ever understood why I stayed. But I'm not afraid anymore. Not because the illness is gone, it's not. I still go to treatments. There are days my hair falls out. Days I can't get out of bed. But I have Ella, She leaves little notes in my lunchbox. She sits beside me in silence after chemo. She walks with me every Saturday evening. Even when she's tired too. Not because she's supposed to, but because she wants to. Once, I asked her, "Do you still miss Julie?" She paused, then nodded. "Yeah, a lot. There are things I still wish I could tell her." I nodded too. "I miss her too. And I think she'd be so proud of you." Ella looked at me with glassy eyes. "You know, I think she chose the right person." I turned away, pretending to look out the window. But inside, I was crying. Not from pain, but because for the first time, I wasn't just the one who stayed. I was someone she chose. At her high school graduation, Ella walked across the stage, proud and confident. Thomas and I sat in the front row, hands clasped tightly. She looked out into the crowd and waved. "Mom." The room was loud, full of noise. But I only heard one word, not because I needed it, but because now it was hers to give. Freely, lovingly. I am the stepmother. And I say this without hesitation. A stepmother is not a replacement. A stepmother is someone who stays when others leave. Someone who walks into an empty space no one wants and fills it with patience, yet love, and constant presence. I didn't give birth to Ella. We don't share blood. I didn't hear her first cry. But I've seen every tear since, and I've stayed for everyone. If Julie could see us now, I think she would smile, because the promise she made me carry, I didn't just keep it, I lived it. And if someone were to ask me, was it worth it, giving 10 years to a child who wasn't really yours? I'd say, I didn't lose 10 years. I gained 10 years of becoming a mother, not by title, but by choice. I am a stepmother, and I was never a replacement. I simply chose to stay.